Hi, this is Group 5, Zane, Zwieg, and Ricardo, Ramos. This is our walkthrough video for our instructional design storyboards. We're going to be teaching trigonometric ratios to high school students, mainly 10th graders, although we do get all the grades in the geometry classes. The majority of them are 10th graders. Our goals and objectives in teaching trig ratios, major goal is that students will use basic trig ratios and inverse trig ratios and the Pythagorean theorem to solve right triangles. Solving right triangles, that is, finding every angle measure and every side length in a right triangle. Our objectives, specifically, our students will calculate the lengths of those sides of the triangles using sine, cosine, and tangent ratios. They'll also calculate the angle measures using inverse trig ratios. And then again, they'll solve the right triangles using trig ratios and inverse trig ratios, as well as prior knowledge of the Pythagorean theorem. The first couple of days, we predict it'll take at least 2 solid days of direct instruction, guided practice, and individual practice to be able to learn the trig ratios, the sine, cosine, and tangent button. We're going to use the Promethean board, which is actually the device I'm using right now to record this walkthrough, and Google Classroom to deliver the information, notes, and guided practice, other videos, and or worksheets that the students could use. There'll be plenty of checking of understanding throughout, and the instruction will also use the proper use of a calculator. Order of operations and properly using degree mode in these calculators is absolutely essential for these trig ratios and inverse trig ratios, something very important that needs to be part of the instruction. The direct instruction, the guided practice, that's going to take place through these instructional sites that we've developed. For example, this is just the bare bones slides. What happens is as we give the instruction throughout, annotation takes place. As I speak through what the sine, cosine, and tangent fractions are, I will, annotate as we go through. So direct instruction along with the notes, and yeah, just an example of the instructional slides that we'll be using for this training. Again, the materials and tech that we'll be using will be the Promethean board. We've got Chromebooks in the classroom. The students have their notebooks plus the calculators that we're going to use. Again, we're predicting 1 to 2 days, definitely 2 days, on learning the trig ratios here. For the next 2 days, 3 and 4, learning the inverse trig ratios, much of the same, using direct instruction, guided practice, and individual practice to deliver the material. Also, again, using the Promethean board and Google Classroom, as well as the Chromebooks and notebooks to deliver. The other instructional slide on inverse trig ratios, same idea there. We'll just run through the notes with them, annotating as we go. Another 1 to 2 days necessary for learning inverse trig ratios. On the 5th and 6th day is when we take what we've learned and put the students in collaborative study groups. There's a Jeopardy review game that we've developed. Students will be placed in groups, 4 to 6, depending on the class size, and they'll be given whiteboards, markers, and an assigned number within the group. So when we go to the review game, this is just the bare bones PowerPoint of it. So the Jeopardy board will be on display, and we have this random way of choosing a student to pick a category and dollar amount. And then when we get to whatever question we get to, for example, let's say this one right here, I'll say to the class, you have 2 minutes to solve the problem. Everybody in the group has to work out the problem because you will randomly be picked after the time limit is up to show your answer for your team. If you don't have an answer for your team can't get the points. So it's a way to get everybody within the class involved in the review. Hopefully there'll be 100% buy-in and kids will actually get involved in the practice/review. Again, we'll use the Promethean board to deliver the material, the Jeopardy PowerPoint, and the students will have their whiteboards, markers, calculators, even notes if they need that as well. And then finally, throughout the instructional period, there's going to be supplemental materials added and shared with students through Google Classroom. We'll include instructional videos linked from YouTube and the Khan Academy, If a student feels they need a little more instruction / information, they can go to those. They also have plenty of problems and worksheets with answers for individual extra practice. And then study guides for the cumulative exam, which will take place on the 7th and final day. Paper or pencil type tests. There'll be multiple assessments that are created. In fact, multiple assessments have already been created. There's a cumulative right triangle test that they could take. There is specifically a trig ratio and inverse trig ratio test that they could take. But really it just depends on the instruction or the instructor and what it is that they want to test for proficiency. Generally speaking, we're looking at 70% of the questions to be answered correctly in order for the students to be proficient. So hopefully this was good enough for the walkthrough video. Thank you very much. Have a good one.